Sup witches? So in this video I want to get into the importance of developing and seeking and walking path of finding your own knowledge, because that's kind of what I try to do with our group, the Coven the Silver Cord on Facebook. That's what we work on, is helping people connect to their own truths and walk their own individual path. All we do is we put the knowledge out there, and then it's up to you to pick apart whatever it is you read, and you keep what feels true to you, and you let go of what doesn't. Case in point, my friend just called me and interrupted my last thing, and she's just fallen into the rabbit hole of the whole, I guess, ascension or whatever it is that's going on that's triggering everybody to do all this crazy stuff. So she read an article, and it was talking about the 144,000 star seeds, which I find absolutely ridiculous that people think that there's only 144 twin flame couples that are going to ignite and save the world. I don't buy that at all. There's 6 billion people on the planet, and from my personal experience with the amount of people I've worked with just over the last 2 years online, there is way more than 144,000 couples that have lit up. And some of them, I don't know if everybody gets a twin flame, or, I try not to put labels on that, because honestly, I have felt what has been considered a twin flame connection with more than one person in my life. So, and as I have expanded my mind with my own spiritual practices and my own research, I have seen that the spark that I had with those that really ignited that twin flame euphoric feeling, I can see that spark pretty much with everybody I've ever dated, because when it comes down to it, we all are connected to Source, and it does shine out at certain points with every person, no matter how toxic they are. You wouldn't have been with them if you didn't feel it, so you wouldn't have been with them if you hadn't noticed that spark within them. So that's what I mean by you need to pick what feels true to you and what doesn't feel true to you. And the same comes with witchcraft and spirituality. So in my case personally, I've always been fascinated with religions, all religions. I've always been, I was baptized. I did my first communion. I was lucky enough when I was little with my first communion to have an awesome pastor at the church, and he was one of those who taught us. I was 13. I was really late when I did it, so I wasn't 7. So I absorbed the information differently than a 7-year-old would. But his teaching was, you don't need to go into the confessional booth to talk to God. So that was one of my first impacts with religion. I also studied Hinduism in middle school. I've always been fascinated with ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria. I watched so many documentaries about ancient history. I have my own theories about how I believe that we have reached a precipice of civilization more than once. And if we weren't wiped out by something else, we wiped out ourselves with our own cockiness. So when I say you need to walk your own spiritual path, is you have to do your own research, get your own books, write down your own information, or, I have a friend who's made herself a reference page that she shares with her friends, stuff like that, and you pick what feels true to you, and that builds a foundation that you can build your manifesting energy on. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to work for you. So, and that's where I get into, there's a big difference between, there's this whole movement of the starseed culture, right? And everybody feels like they're an avatar being broadcast from the universe onto Earth into one of these bodies. And that could be very possibly true for a great many of people. I have no doubt that there's some, I have friends that, their truths are they're a Pleiadian space captain, or they're from a cat planet, or, and they're a rainbow bridger here to unite people. And I've got people that are at the very beginning of their paths that are just starting to fall in the rabbit hole, if you will. And here's the thing, when you fall in the rabbit hole, Alice follows the white rabbit into the rabbit hole, right? And the rabbit's nice, and she's friendly with the rabbit. The problem is once Alice falls into the rabbit hole, she does not get to leave the rabbit hole until she faces the Bandersnatch and gets the keys, till she defeats the Jabberwocky, her greatest demons, so once you fall in the rabbit hole, that's what happens. When you first fall into it, it's magic everywhere, and it's awing, and it's all that, and then, as your imagination and as your mind expands and as you realize what's actually really capable in this world, your fears are going to pop up. You're like, oh my, well, now if I can do that with positive energy, then what is possible with negative energy? Or just things like that, because the more you get into spirituality and the more you get into magic, you're going to hit moments of high magic. And you're going to do stuff that it never even crossed your mind to even try to do. It just happens. So, and that will leave you euphoric for a while. But eventually, your old demons and your old fears are going to come up, and you're going to have to face those. And that is absolutely terrifying. It generally requires a lot of solitude, a lot of looking in the mirror, and a lot of facing yourself. And it usually requires a major tower moment. For those of you who don't read tarot cards, tower moments are essentially when your whole life crumbles around you. Now, there's two types of people. There's the type of people that are going to just ride the train until it towers on its own. And then there's people like me who, once I see a tower moment coming, I'll just knock it down myself. I'll just kick it over and start examining what's under the foundation, what the problem is, and try to figure it out myself. So, that's that. My biggest thing is the thing that I was forced to face when I hit my last major tower moment was I am a codependent nightmare in a relationship. And then looking back, I realized I don't think I had gone more than 4 months of my life single since I was 15 years old. That's insane. That's insane. For as much of my childhood that I spent mostly by myself, once I started dating, I just kept jumping from one relationship to the next. So I realized in my last tower moment that I had to kick the tower over. And I was married, so that went over really well. I actually sent my husband away. I hadn't planned on it being a full-on breakup, but the way it ended up playing out, I don't know if we can repair that now that that's passed and how that all went down. Because in facing my own demons and doing the tower moment, I was witnessed to some demons that I never knew existed within him. And I may forgive him. He's always going to be my friend. I'm always going to love him. But I don't know if I could ever reach the level that I was before the tower moment and before that massive awakening. And those are all things that you have to own up to. And the other part of it is the fear of allowing the universe to guide you down a path that you don't know what's around the corner. Because if you try to micromanage it and you try to focus in and laser in and force an outcome in your life, you are blocking out so many possibilities that could come to you. I mean, if you're so laser focused that this is what I want, blah, 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 you're going to hit a point where you're going to turn away opportunities that could have led you someplace even better than you were planning on for yourself. So there's importance to following your path, finding your truths, allowing that to help manifest up your strengths and help you to manifest what you need. Now, you have to manifest something and you have to take action. Sorry, adjust myself. So you can't just not take action either. You can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'll just let the universe do everything for me. You can't do that. You have to be willing to try something new and let it fail, and try something new and let it fail, and try something new and let it fail, and try something new and let it fail. And then eventually, from trying all these new things, you're going to hit a point where you've accumulated so much knowledge trying all these different things that you hit a point where you know what not to do and what to do and what it is you actually want to do. So that's the other point that I wanted to get with following your own spiritual path. You have to allow bad things to happen too, because they're teaching you important things, and failures teach you far more than successes. So regardless of where you are on your path, if you just fallen down the rabbit hole and you're just getting to the Bandersnatch, it's scary. It is absolutely terrifying, and I know, and I empathize with you because I was there. And I've been there more than once in my life. I've been extremely spiritual since I was very little. I don't know if it's because I spent about the first 5 years of my life living in Bermuda with the Bermuda Triangle and just all that energy that's out there. But that's where I've had, my out-of-body experiences were when I was really little. And it's also when I've had my first encounters with spirits was when I was really little. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get on today, is the importance of do your own research and actually walk your own path. And that's what we focus on in the Coven the Silver Cord, and that's what I focus on trying to help people to do, because it has to be your own path and you have to walk it yourself. And I am not the kind of person, and I always say I'm not a good teacher because I have no patience, but that's the kind of teacher I am. And I'm the kind of person that if I see you trying, man, I'll send you so much energy. If I see you trying, I will keep trying to help you. But the moment I see you starting to give up and starting to backslide and starting to lose direction, I am the kind of person that's going to tell you, hey, you're fucking up. What are you doing? You just did all this amazing stuff. All you have to do is face this one fear and you're going to be okay. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to blow roses up your ass. So for the witches who got upset about the sex magic video and me telling y'all about yourselves and about how using people is negative energy and all that, I don't say that stuff lightly. I don't say anything I say lightly. Everything I say is because usually I experienced it. And if I didn't experience it, it's because I've had very in-depth conversations with people who have experienced it. So embrace your fears, listen to your intuition, follow your gut, and walk your own path. Don't let what other people believe because that's a hole people fall into a lot. You start doing research and you start following somebody. And when you start following them, you start allowing their beliefs to affect your beliefs. And then that's that slippery slide to organized religion. And that's just another box. It's just another box to be in. I don't consider myself a Wiccan anymore. I consider myself an eclectic pagan witch, because I will use any god that I want, from any religion that I want. I will call upon the universe, and the only reason I'll use a deity to call upon the universe is because I am seeking a very certain intent or aspect from the universe. So that's just another way I focus intent. That's the same thing with tools. You don't need this. You don't need it. You don't need crystal balls and all that. Don't get me wrong. I'm addicted to crystals. I love them. I love the frequency that they put out and all that great stuff. And it's great if you can afford it, or if they come to you. In my case, a lot of this stuff just, it came to me. It's all gifts and whatnot from people. I rarely buy my own crystals. The only crystals I buy are the ones that I put in the spell kits. So, yeah. That's the importance that I wanted to get into, of walking your own path. And I think that is the most important thing when you're developing spiritual practices. That you find something that calls to you. And like yoga called to me a couple of years ago. And I started doing a lot of yoga. I did yoga for about 2 years straight. I would say habitually, but that's a lie, because I'm a fire sign. I don't do anything habitually except for my bad habits. So, but I did a lot of yoga. So, and I was really into that for a while. And then it got boring, so then I went to Tai Chi. And it was all different ways of manifesting energy. And I took pieces from each thing that I've done to build up my own spiritual practice. And that's why I am so comfortable in my own practice to share it with others. When I say you don't need tools, I know if you follow me in the Coven that I do post pictures of, I like to do a nice big altar, and I like to decorate it with wild flowers or crystals and all that. And that's all just creating sacred space. You don't need a whole bunch of stuff to create a sacred space. All you really need is you. But if you put a little effort into it to actually create that space, within creating the space, you're building more intent. But you don't have to do it how someone else told you to do it. Like, you're going to go online, they're going to tell you, oh, if you're a Wiccan, the thing needs to be over here, and your candle needs to be over here. And, you know, I do the quarters, you know, earth, air, fire, water, and I do designate them to their directions. Though I actually prefer to do, because I live on the east coast of the United States, I do water to the east, because that's where the ocean is. And I do the winds to the west, because for me, that's where the winds come from. The only reason it was the other way in traditional magic teachings is because those were designed in Europe, where it was reversed. So do what feels right for you, and you will be able to manifest so much more energy to change your life than you can ever possibly imagine. And it is important that you take time to learn how to be alone in your own space, and how to recognize what your own personal problems are, and be willing to do what you have to reach the next level. If your intuition tells you to kick that tower over, kick it over. Or if it tells you to let it fall, let it fall. It's not easy. It's not easy facing that stuff. And if you need any extra help or advice, I invite you to come over to the Coven the Silver Cord. And we're happy to discuss a whole range of topics. You just post it and we go from there. I would like to give a shout out. This is a lapis lazuli moon necklace. This was made by my friend who runs an Etsy store called Elsa's Enchantments. So shout out to Elsa. She made this for me for my birthday, but she's gotten this. That's her too. And I don't even know how she does it. She never asked me for a measurement for any of my jewelry. She doesn't ask me for any measurements. And everything always fits perfectly. So I suggest you check her out. She's on Etsy. I also suggest, if you are going to get into magic and you do want to buy altar items and crystals and stuff like that, I go to Etsy. Find something handmade. It's got so much more meaning into it if you find something that somebody made themselves by hand and actually put a whole bunch of loving energy into. I'm not saying that you can't do it with store-bought, mass-produced stuff, but when you get it like that, then it's up to you to make sure that you put a lot of your energy into it. That's how tarot cards work. You have to put a bunch of your energy into it before they're going to read for you. So, okay, well, this has been a pretty long one, and I'm going to let you guys go because Tarja's awake now, so I can go vacuum my floors without waking anybody up, and I will talk to you witches later.